So I don't know if you caught this. We did talk about this in the prior video uploaded on this channel, the Mike Matheson, Montreal Canadiens, Kent Hughes trade mistake video, but I opened up that commentary by going into an entire diatribe as to how the NHL trade market has seemed to work this year. Because every year, we see the same stories and the same ebbs and flows of a season, which reflects into the content that we make, which reflects into the YouTube views, and in turn reflects into my money. I get more money when it's trade deadline season, because quite frankly, the videos pop more, there's a lot more engagement, there's a lot more excitement. I get more money during the draft and free agency. Those are like the three events that really bolster up the income for this YouTube channel. Trade deadline, draft, free agency. Everybody wants to know what's going on with their teams and what the biggest scoop is. But all the months in between that, we have to fill it in with other topics, we have to give updates as to how players are doing, and there aren't really too many trade ideas that usually float up to the surface until, let's say, December-ish, or January even in some years. But this year, the trade ideas have been flowing pretty consistently ever since the start of the season, which is interesting because it's so different than how the seasons usually go. I think it's good compensation because this summer was a lot less trade discussion heavy compared to prior summers, so I think there's a little bit of an evening out process there. This summer, especially around the September-ish mark, was a lot less of a trade intensity discussion summer compared to years prior. Sure, we still were able to make videos and we still had a good income, which is awesome. I'm very grateful that this is my full-time job, but because there were limited trade ideas back then, it's interesting now that we can start talking about them more so. And I remember, like, in prior years, we would have, like, oh, the trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois or whatever, the Trevor Zegras trade rumors. These were big ideas, and they were always percolating throughout the year, and especially throughout the summer, so we would just make videos about them because every few days there'd be a new scoop. Now we're talking about different scoops, and we're talking about different players, because today what I wanted to do was focus on two Canadian organizations and two names that have actually legitimately been tossed out there by certain members of the mainstream media. Let's go from east to west here, starting out with the Ottawa Senators, because earlier 2 days ago there was an article published on responsiblegambling.org by, who's the writer here? James Murphy, that's who it is. SiriusXM NHL Network radio host, ESPN Boston, NESN, and NHL.com. James Murphy went out there and published this article on RG.org saying that anything is in play for the Ottawa Senators as they eye a shake-up trade amid their struggles. The picture in the article goes out there and depicts one very interesting-looking name. Take a look at this Ottawa Senators update. According to a well-placed NHL source, a frustrated Senators hockey operations department is contemplating a big change. Something could go down there soon, and I'm talking a shake-up trade, a source told RG on Sunday after the Sens lost their fifth straight game with a 4-3 loss to the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night. At this point, the Sens are running out of options to change without making a franchise-altering trade. The issue was previously thought to be their goaltending, which Ottawa believed they rectified with their summer acquisition of Linus Ullmark. But it seems the problem may be deeper. They've changed the management team, they've changed the coach, they've made lineup changes, and the culture isn't changing. That roster has a sense of entitlement, and they know it may be time to shake things up. Now, we also had ourselves Mark Mathot go out there and make a tweet saying this: I'm not trying to sound dramatic at all here, but next on the chopping block, if this continues, isn't the coach or the GM or the owner. It'll be a core piece player, and it's going to sting. This team looked disengaged tonight against a tired Edmonton team. Not good. Mathot was bang on, this source said. They're listening to anything and everything right now. There's a real concern that this Sens core does not have it right now. There are rumors that Brady Tkachuk could be a trade candidate, but this source stressed that he hadn't heard any specific names and that just anything is in play. Okay, so that is our Brady Tkachuk idea per the article. Where else has Brady Tkachuk's name been popping up? Well, let's go out there and look at the Reddits, because I'll say this is kind of an idea that I'd seen a lot in response to Brady Tkachuk's antics in that game against Vancouver, how he was just kind of going out there and going after everybody and the late game fights, and putting his team in a more unfavorable position by taking these fights when you're already down and the games are winding down as well. There was a lot of backlash, and even this post was made by Broken Left Phalange on the R Ottawa Senators sub. Sens fans are turning on Brady. I made a post the other day questioning Brady's leadership. I seriously thought I was in the minority until last night. I went to the game and heard Sens fans legitimately upset at Brady after the fight. I checked Twitter, and some of the biggest Sens fan accounts, who've always defended him, are now turning on him and wanting him stripped of the captaincy or straight up gone. This is Spezza number 2, but worse. And there are a bunch of replies to this thread that I think are a little bit extreme. Some talking about the satirical poking fun of Sens fans that want to see Brady out, others saying that he should get taken out, but then there's this right here by Bennett Glodwin. Yes, we pay Brady Tkachuk's salary, we buy the tickets, jerseys, and overpriced beers that provide the team with revenue. We have a right to be critical of the team and its players when they're not up to par. Brady Tkachuk is a defensive liability, who tends to go missing during rough patches and who thinks that taking penalties and getting ejected from the game qualifies as being a leader. Do I think we strip him of the captaincy? No, but he has a large influence on the team's mindset, and I don't think it's a positive influence right now. You can make of that what you will. Another comment says, the fact is, the captain has to be your best all-around player. Brady isn't it. He's a great goal scorer who plays with an edge, he's a great fit on all 32 teams, but he is undisciplined, terrible in his own zone, and he takes endless bad penalties. His coaches don't trust him. When you send someone to serve a bench minor, usually it's a guy who can afford to lose for 2 minutes. Apparently, we can afford to lose our captain. His captaincy is dysfunctional. So, with that, let's transition hard into the Vancouver side of things, because I wanted to keep this one short. We had ourselves Paul Biznasty going out there and talking about some Vancouver trade ideas. Take a look at this. It was talked about in the Spittin' Chicklets podcast. Biznasty asked the group whether JT Miller is available in the trade market as a first-line center for the Bruins. The other guys ask why Vancouver would make him available. Biz then goes on to say there are ruffled feathers and that Miller does not see eye to eye with Elias Pettersson. A question asked, was he referencing this rift before with Petey or more recent? He said their history has been documented and he was wondering, with him out of the lineup and Petey starting to heat up, maybe there is something there. And yeah, okay. Speculation. I'll try to catch it later. Thanks for the response. Ultimately, this is Biznasty going onto his own show and talking about what he's thinking about, which is not, a bad thing. It's just kind of interesting when you say something that I feel is so outdated in a lot of Canucks fans' minds that ultimately it just kind of seems a bit foolish here. JT Miller was signed on to that big extension, and a lot of Canucks fans immediately started to regret it. Miller was playing poorly, Miller was playing lazily, Miller was not having a good time under Bruce Boudreau, especially after he had signed that huge $8 million extension per year. But let him stick out the course, let him ride it through, let him have an 82-point season despite being bad, and then wait it out for another year. Bring in a coach that a lot of Canucks fans resonate with and that Miller himself as a player resonates with, and you see Miller get a 100-point season the season after. At this point, Canucks fans are on board. There's nobody thinking about trading away Miller anymore. The team is competitive right now. The team's window is open right now. Quinn is in his prime. Petey is in his prime, or at least he was. He was a 100-point guy who dipped over to 89 points last season, and Miller is a 100-point monster as well. There's nobody in the Vancouver beat that is thinking about the idea of trading JT Miller. And so for Biznasty to go out there and speak about it on Chicklets, which reignited the conversation on social media one more time, I wanted to make this video to address that and say no, it's not going to happen here. There isn't really any talk that Vancouver is going to trade away any of their superstars. There's no way he becomes available. And to really hammer this point home, we had ourselves Grady, who went out there and posted this on Twitter as well. Pretty sure most of y'all are familiar with Grady. He used to do stuff on TSN and Canucks Army and Sekeres and Price and stuff. He said this, that yesterday it was Jiricek to the Canucks via Reddit, which didn't happen and won't. Now Biznasty is spitballing a JT Miller trade. Think critically about the likelihood of that happening. Consider the sources, the context, and the money involved. These rumors get way too much stock put into them. And, of course, included is a beautiful gif of Mad Max Fury Road, where Tom Hardy says that's fake news. So with that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Ottawa trade ideas with Brady Tkachuk? How do you feel about the Vancouver trade ideas with JT Miller? Obviously, these are not connected. I just wanted to make them in the same video because it makes for a flashy and presentable title. And it's fun to talk about these two teams because the two fan bases seem to not like each other very much. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these two power forwards and whether or not you could actually see them getting traded. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.